Flint, Michigan, was a terrific area to live in the 1950s and 60s, despite today's struggles the city faces with water, poverty, and crime. The city was expanding at a breakneck pace, with more jobs opening up than could be filled by the automakers. At its height in 1960, the city's population was over 200,000, making it the second largest city in the state. Interestingly, Flint even used to have an amusement attraction called Flint Park. The Flint Park and Amusement Company presented a concept for the park to the city of Flint on August 26, 1919. The Matthew Davison Farm, adjacent to Flint Park Lake and near Stewart Avenue and DuPont Street, was to be converted into a 40-acre amusement park and leisure area. It would cost more than $250,000 for construction. A dance hall, a festival and sports area, an opera concert venue, an ice rink, and a children's playground were all on the table. According to the plan, they wanted the park's attractions to be of the highest caliber. Located on Flint's north side, the amusement park finally opened in 1921 and occupied approximately 40 acres of land close to Flint Park Lake, which is better known as Devil's Lake today. Over the course of its existence, Flint Park boasted at least 10 different rides, including a real roller coaster named the Jackrabbit and a Ferris wheel. Special events and concerts by various musicians were also held at the park, with the American jazz singer Ella Fitzgerald being the most well-known. It is even reported that Harry Truman came to the park to campaign for the United States presidency. Flint Park had a rocky 40-year history, and it wasn't all fun and games. Several unfortunate and even catastrophic incidents occurred in the park. During the park's inaugural season, a fire damaged many rides and destroyed portions of the concession stalls. Despite the initial setback of the fire, Flint Park was largely successful. Plans to expand the park continued. To accommodate boats and swimmers, a new lagoon and swimming area were constructed in the lake. There were picnic spaces and a baseball diamond built into the park in 1924. 4th of July fireworks were a huge hit by locals, and the parking lot was packed. Nearby children would eat fresh tomatoes from their gardens with salt and pepper, and watch the fireworks high above them. There was a roller skating rink that was popular among area youth. Today, it is in the same location as the Lawrence Moon Funeral Home. Pictures were offered for park travelers, and many got their photograph taken to remember the trip. Scenes that involved half-moons and boat pictures were very popular. Talent shows were often held, and the park was a great place for picnics. The sound of happy children and the rhythmic sound of the roller coaster set a cheerful mood for the surrounding neighborhood. Discounted tickets could be received from the nearby Hamady grocery store for children to be at the park all day. Though Flint Park was usually a jovial place, it also represented an area where life ended tragically. On the wooden roller coaster called the Jackrabbit, one man stood up while on the ride and was beheaded. Lorraine Harsett said of the coaster, "I did ride the old rickety wooden roller coaster. The front car was the worst, scariest, but it was the seat to get. The handlebar barely kept you in your seat." Another person remembers that the back of the coaster train would fishtail when going around corners. The coaster ran even during the colder months, and longtime resident Wayne Tingley reflects,
"One of my most memorable days was up on the Jackrabbit ride during the winter time. I reached out over the railing near the top of the ride to grab an icicle, and my hand stuck to the ice. It took several minutes, and I lost skin to get my hand back. Lesson learned well."
Another man died suddenly while trying to enjoy an alcoholic beverage. While at the park's beer garden, he died after a fall on the stairwell. A third death was reported as one of the flagpole sitters plunged to his death sometime in the 1930s. Flagpole sitting was a fad that started in the 1920s, where people sat high above the ground for as long as they could on a pole. It is said that when the flagpole sitter fell, the crowd went completely silent. The park was severely damaged by a second fire in 1941. If that was not enough chaos and destruction, there was the legendary 1953 Flint-Beecher F5 tornado that ripped through the area. This famous tornado killed 116 people, although not in the park itself, and caused severe damage to the Jack Rabbit roller coaster. A man who moved to Flint Park with his family in 1938, named Pat Anger, was in charge of maintaining the roller coaster. When refurbishing the coaster after the twister's winds destroyed much of the structure, he decided that he would add height to the first hill, thus making it an even more thrilling ride. The Angers even lived in a house underneath the roller coaster. Flint resident Sherry Lynn Artiega reflects, "I also remember on the top hill seeing a man up there, and when we went down, the man was hammering nails back in. At least that is what it looked like. I never rode it again." The park's owners opted not to reopen in March 1961, and the park was dismantled a few years later in 1963. People began to stay away from the park because of the greaser gangs that came in and started causing issues and harassing people. They would vandalize after the park closed for the night, which cost the owner a lot of money to repair. Flint Park, which had been open for over 4 decades, is now largely a forgotten piece of Michigan history. When the park was torn down, part of the administration office was moved and became the base of a house now owned by Roxanne Rhodes, the author of the book Haunted Flint. She found artifacts from the old amusement park in her basement, and has reported some strange occurrences in her house. It will never be known completely what kind of eerie presence followed her grandparents many years ago to that location. The park resided next to Flint Park Lake, or more commonly known as Devil's Lake. It was so named because it was originally thought to be so deep that it extended all the way to the bottom of hell. Others say it is called Devil's Lake because people would often be sucked down when trying to swim across, and that they were being dragged downward by the hand of the devil himself. There are many other rumors. Some people say that the bottom is like quicksand, and everything that goes in gets sucked inward. There have been multiple reports of people drowning and bodies being found in the lake. Everything from old stagecoaches, knives, guns, cars, bodies, and abandoned amusement park equipment are rumored to be in it. Area residents joke by saying it is a good spot to get rid of a body. Many locals were told, when they were children, to stay far from the lake and that it was a dangerous area. It is also rumored that years ago, when the circus would come to town, they would have the elephants swim across the lake to attract people to come to the show. Michigan State University assisted in an assessment of the lake in 2014 because the area is currently very underutilized. The lake was found to be fed by spring water. In addition, Devil's Lake receives storm water from 4 major storm lines that drain the city's southern, eastern, and western areas. The north end of Devil's Lake has a 48-inch tube that drains into the Brent Run Creek drain just north of Carpenter Road, where it continues north via a 72-inch storm line that parallels Fleming Road. The lake was also found not to be bottomless, but approximately 20 feet at its deepest. In all, Flint Park was a great place to have fun for most, but not everyone. Some people died tragically. Unfortunately, safety standards were not as strict as they are today, and accidents happened. Hopefully, one day the area can be revitalized and provide the people of Flint a place of leisure and relaxation. If you like this story, please consider liking and subscribing. Thank you for your support.